Here with Concordia head cross country coach Matt Beisel to preview the 2025 seasons, which are fast approaching as we record this. In fact, everybody's coming back to campus right now as we talk. Here to discuss what will be your 10th season as head coach. Was talking to your daughter Keegan earlier about what that was like 9-10 years ago, and she was not thrilled about leaving some friends behind in Arizona, but it's worked out pretty well. What do you remember about that now that this is your 10th year, just taking this job and coming back to your alma mater?
Yeah, well, I coached in the NCAA in Chicago for 6 years, and it was a great experience. Loved it, but I also had a long commute. I had a toddler, and Keegan was really young at that time, and with the facilities, like an indoor track that we had to drive to at night, couldn't get in until 8 o'clock at night, 3 nights a week, all through the winter. I wasn't seeing my kids awake for days at a time, over and over again. And so as much as I enjoyed and loved what I did, my wife was like, this isn't working for our family. So I made the difficult decision to resign. I was a stay-at-home dad for a year, just kind of going, God, what am I supposed to do with my life? And via a weird series of events, someone down in Phoenix, Arizona, realized that I was kind of wondering what to do, and I'm a science teacher, and so I went to Valley Lutheran High School in Phoenix, and I taught science, I coached track and cross country, we bought a house, thought we were going to be there for a long time, and really enjoyed that as well. And then when Coach Craig Einspar resigned after a very successful 24-year tenure, I got a phone call very shortly afterwards asking for me to interview. And so long story short, we ended up moving here. My wife, God bless her, she builds relationships wherever she is, and so we left the relationships in Chicago. Then she built some in Arizona, and so she told me, she's like, this is it. She's like, this is the last move. But it was good, and yes, it was tough to leave people. But about a year after moving here, we were driving someplace with the family, and I just said out loud, I'm like, okay guys, be honest with me, like, it's been almost a year. I know there was a lot of questions about leaving everything behind again, and my kids were like, we love it, it was the best, and Jill, my wife, was like, no, this was a really good move. And so that's the story, and now we are thriving and loving being here in Seward.
And now it's year 10 as head coach.
Can't believe it. It's gone fast.
And preseason training is underway for cross country. Just talk about the schedule a little bit. How have you challenged your athletes so far, and how are they responding before classes get started?
Well, putting up with me, that's a daily challenge. They will say, no, I'm just kidding.
Mm-hmm.
But we, they all arrived Tuesday, moved in, did a lot of team building, mixer games, name games, just to get to know each other. It's really interesting. I don't plan this. It's just we get what we get each year. I start off with a big pool of recruits, and by the time we get our final class, some are distance, some are throwers, some are jumpers, and it's always a different ratio. And so we kind of look at it as like, hey, this is who God gave us this year. So this year, we have about 56 on the cross country team between men and women, and we got a really big class. We have 13 men and 11 women who signed up, 3 transfers. They are phenomenal young men and women. I'm so excited to have them here, but they make not quite 50% of our team. That's a big dynamic. And again, we have an amazing team culture, but I told them all at the beginning of all this, and we'll continue to work through this, is the great culture we had last year. Tradition will carry us to a certain degree, but we graduated some awesome leaders. We have a whole bunch of new people, so we've got to be intentional about continuing to do the things that gave us the great culture in the first place, and it's been phenomenal so far. They are getting along famously. We're having a great time. But from the workout standpoint, first morning was just sort of, hey, let's learn our dynamic warm-up routine, let's go for an easy run, and then we did our traditional 1600 test on the track, women first, then the men, and that gives me valuable data because, like what we did in track ages ago doesn't give me information that's relevant to right now other than potential. And so in order to help me dial in to their particular fitness and their training times and things like that, this is good information. But we always get into it, and then after some pictures, they went and finished up an 800 repeat workout. And so then today was recovery. Tomorrow we're doing a hill workout on our cross country course. So I think the thing that they would all be is like, I can't wait till we start afternoon practices, and that's next week. So we're doing morning stuff because a huge percentage of our cross country kids are RAs, and they are doing RA training during the day.
I wanted to break things down a little bit for both teams. The men placed third in the GPAC. I think just narrowly missed out on going to nationals as a team, but you had the top two finishers in the conference as well. How does that impact kind of expectations going into this season?
For the guys' side, I think we can be a top two team in the conference, absolutely 100%. Even though we lost people like Nathan Pennekamp, Jack Ellis, and Thomas Gorline, who were three of our better runners from last year, we return everybody else. And we have some very talented freshmen and transfers who have come in who are going to more than make up for who we lost. And so I think the guys were, when you miss it by so close, they're hungry. And I think they have a great desire to, take the team to Tallahassee, Florida this fall.
What does that do for you when you have Vaughn Hendrickson returning conference champion, and then Trey Robertson was the runner-up to kind of lead the pack and push everybody?
Yeah, they're both in great shape. They finished up the outdoor track season, and Trey ended up stepping on a rock and hurt his foot. Didn't have the finish he wanted, and Vaughn was just tired at the end of his freshman year after a phenomenal season and year. But both of them had a nice rest and had great training this summer. So both of them are in very, very good fitness, better than they were last year. And then you can say the same for a bunch of our returners. The freshmen clearly did the work. So, but having those two at the helm with the experience of going to nationals and tasting what that's like, not only there, but going to indoor nationals and the distance medley relay, I think that gives some experience and some leadership of them being able to paint a vision to the rest of the guys about what this can be like.
On the women's side, by my count, I think you have 8 of the runners back who were at the conference meet last year, placed fourth in the GPAC. How do you see things coming along with them right now?
I'm very optimistic. We lost Rhea Kaczynski. She was a heavy hitter and had her very best season last year. She graduated. But we returned my daughter Keegan, who had a great year last year. She's had some health issues through the spring, and so she's not even close to 100%, as she would tell you. But again, she's one of those people who just can somehow put things together when she gets consistent training in. And so I think she and I have both talked about just taking a wait-and-see attitude a day at a time. But at the same time, whatever level of performance she has, she's very committed to the team. She's a great leader. She loves these girls, and she and her teammates who are older have a vision for what they want this team to be, and they've already worked towards that. So I think that's a big piece of it. She provides leadership along with other seniors like Hannah Bentema and her friend Rachel Atta and some of these others. Then you have some of the returning girls, Annika Staub, Annika Schlachter, Allison Stepanek, Lydia Edmonds, who didn't run at conference and cross country last year but had a great track season, and several others. These girls, some of them had weird injury things happen, but we are coming back. Annika ran her best time trial ever coming off of an injury this spring. And so I think it's one of those things where we absolutely believe we have the talent and the depth on our roster to be a top 2 team in the conference and make it to nationals. I think that isn't understood. How that plays out, last year we had weird things happen, like my daughter banged her head on a door and missed the whole indoor and outdoor season from a concussion. So I will say this, we have the talent and ability to make nationals with both teams. And I'm trusting in God and saying a lot of prayers for the health of our kids as we work together. One of the things that is a nice potential hit is that Keely Green, who was an outstanding runner for us 2 years ago, went through some pretty serious health issues, and then things have really turned around for her, and so she was cleared to start training and competing with us again, and she's in great shape and brings a huge element of positive energy to the team and also a lot of talent, and I haven't even started talking about the freshmen yet.
I don't. Maybe you do want to mention, I don't know, the freshmen that are impressing you so far.
Yeah.
Men and women.
Sure. So on the men's side, going back to the men, just looking at time trial results, but also looking at what they did last year. Our transfer, Jessup. Well, we have 2 transfers. Mark Boltmeyer, and he's from Texas A&M, Texarkana, and then we also have Jessup Peterson, who's transferred over from Northern State, and both of them have talent. Jessup ended up dropping a really great 1600, but Mark did too. I think those 2 guys, having a year of collegiate experience under their belt and some talent to back it up, are going to be players in this whole scenario. But then there are guys like Keith Seek. He is a homeschool student from Michigan who had a great track season, and he actually was our number 2 finisher in the 1600 and ran great. He was right behind Trey, and then Vaughn was after him. And I didn't mention Trevor Kunsel. Trevor is a absolute rock star, and he's he's a returning athlete, but he's right there in that mix. And even though he just didn't, he wasn't in the spotlight last year because, we had the first and second place in conference, Trevor is one of our best runners, and he is going to do some great things. Ransom Watts had a great year last year. He ran great the other day. Aiden Limback is another one. And then we have a whole host of returning guys who bring a lot to the table, and I think we have some good stuff. In addition to Keith, we have Charlie Evans from Aurora. Charlie had a great track season. He's running well. Abe Chance from Yankton. I mean, I could go on and on. I'm not going to take the time to list them all, but in all of those guys, so much depth, so much potential, so much talent, and I'm going to be really curious to see how it goes. On the women's side, just a few of the freshmen right off the bat. Let's start with transfer Macy Ripke. Macy transferred from Concordia, Ann Arbor. She had a breakout season in track this year and competed and made All-American at Christian College Nationals, and so she's going to be important in this process. We have Lily Kenning from Milford, who then went to Lincoln Southwest and graduated, and she is a very talented runner who had an injury but seems to be fully recovered and is on her way back to her former self, and it was exciting to see the other day. You add in Ashley Robertson, who is a multi-time state champion. She's Trey's sister from Wallace. She ran a 5:20 mile at state last year, and I think she ended up winning our time trial the other day, and she's going to do great. You look at people like Chloe Abramson from Parker Lutheran and Lily Dahl from Bennington, and I could just keep listing and listing and listing. So I don't know. I'm optimistic. It could all end in disaster. Who knows? But we're going to try, with God's help, to, with me giving, hopefully, the training theory to back it up, the right stuff that we need to prepare ourselves, a great athletic training staff helping to keep us healthy, an awareness, lots of cross-training. That's a big thing with us, and to supplement the miles, and I'm really hopeful. And one of the biggest things I would like to say, though, is all we've talked about so far is what can we do at conference, what can we do at nationals, and those are outcomes, and outcomes are very important. Those are things we're measured on as a team, and those are things that are fun to pursue. But our big emphasis in the last few years, and I reiterated this with the team, is look, those things are important, and we need to be aware of them, and we want to pursue those things, but the most important piece is the relationships on our team and the process day by day, not thinking too far in advance, but looking at day at a time, a week at a time, and finding joy in being at practice, doing these challenging things with an amazing group of people who you're going to know the rest of your life, and then give the rest up to God, and then the rest takes care of itself. God already knows the outcome of our season. I trust Him 100%, whatever that is, and bottom line is we're going to have a great time working together as teams, building relationships, working our butts off, and seeing what happens.
I was going to ask if you had any themes for this season, but maybe that's it right there.
Last year, some of the older kids came up with themes that they agreed upon before we even got to camp, and this year we haven't done that. I think we're going to wait a little bit and get at least our first meet under our belt to kind of sit down as a team and do, like, once we kind of get all the freshmen integrated and see how things go and see where we want to go with not just our team goals, but what our theme needs to be. And some years the girls and guys have separate themes, some years they have a single theme, and so that's something that they're going to take ownership for and come up with when the time is right.
You mentioned your daughter Keegan, some of the ups and downs.
Yeah.
Going to nationals, also dealing with injuries. What's it been like to coach your daughter now that she's a senior?
It's been one of the most incredible things I've ever done. It is definitely continued to build our relationship in a positive way, and having her here at Concordia, where I'm able to meet her for coffee almost every week, once a week, and just talk about life and listen to her as she's gone through the last 3 years, ups and downs and so forth, but also working with her in a coach-athlete relationship. I think we have a really good trust. She is just such a great girl, and I mean, I love her so much, and it is a gift from God that I get to coach her for 4 years and have these years with her, because a lot of parents don't get that, and I never forget that as I see her and work with her.
GPAC championships are back at Mahoney State Park in Ashland like they were last year. I don't know, is that a good thing? Everybody who's returners who ran last year will be familiar with it, and hopefully a trip to Florida, right, for nationals.
Tallahassee's a beautiful course, and of course going to Florida is sort of a destination spot, but it's a well-run meet down there. Conference, Mahoney State Park is just a beautiful cross-country course, and I really like it. Our kids like running there, and the fortunate thing is we have the Blazing Tiger, which is an NAIA showcase meet 2 weeks before conference on the same course, so all the freshmen will have experience with it also, and then to be able to come back there 2 weeks later. I think it's a great course. I think it's one where we have the ability to excel.
Any other final thoughts going into this season?
Yeah, I'm just very grateful that I get to be here at Concordia, at my alma mater. There's such a rich history. I spent a lot of time this summer digging into the history of cross country and track and field, because I'm just a geek when it comes to science and history, and I love this place. And so just reading through old meet results and looking at some of the images of scrapbooks that some of the 1970s guys sent me, and reading about it, and I just realized what a rich tradition and history we have here in the Bulldog Nation. And as I was putting these people on the roster and so forth, I'm like, oh my gosh, they're continuing that tradition. And each of these guys and girls, we have a range of people who, some were super successful in high school, some were not as successful. They're on a developmental range, and that includes some of our returners. And I think the biggest thing that I tell these athletes is, like, my number one priority is to know them and to have a meaningful, intentional relationship with them from a practical standpoint, because that helps me to coach them better as we work together in a partnership. But I also remind them, and sometimes I'm the one that has to talk them off the ledge, because they have such high expectations for themselves of, like, your identity is in Christ. Your value to me is zero to do with your performance and everything to do with the fact that Christ created you and loves you. And that's a message I want them to know. Yes, we want to figure out how to improve and make progress as runners. But I want to make sure that we're doing it in the right way and doing it in a way that's going to help them to reduce anxiety and to really enjoy the experience. Because I've found that if you're enjoying the experience and you're having a great time, then the success is more likely to come. And that's just the way that I've coached. So I guess that's last thing that I would say.
How about a SCO Dogs to end?
SCO Dogs!
All right.